So here we go then. Welcome back to another edition of the recap. And today I'm joined by the fine Liam from Crew. It's always a pleasure, my friends. And it's a happy recap today because Town won a big game on Saturday, beating Pompey 3-2 at Portman Road. Liam, thanks for joining me. What a day it was on Saturday. How you doing?
What can you say? It's gone a little bit chillier, but the sun was out. It was really nice. And then what a game of football, to be honest. I think most people would have probably said it was going to be a tight game with 1-by-1 goal, probably. And it was, but I don't think anyone would have had 3-2 down. I think you would have had quite a few 1-0s, maybe a few 2-1s. And a lot of people probably would have gone for a draw as well. So there was a lot more entertainment on show than I think we expected. Although, obviously, going ahead twice and then giving away penalties to lose that lead twice, probably not very good for the ticker. Really good day and a deserved win in the end, I would say.
Indeed, mate. And you're here today to bring your 5 takeaways from the win. Let's start off then with it's got to be the one, innit? It's got to be the one. HOODOO broken against the big side. So we've been talking about this the last few weeks. The Sheffield Wednesday game, then the Plymouth game, and this game, we were talking about it. Can Town finally do it? And they did break the HOODOO, my friend, and it was just good to see.
Yeah, well, obviously, Town have won a few games. Obviously, last season, they absolutely thumped Pompey, beat Wickham twice, and they beat Plymouth at home. But those games were all in periods where Town weren't competitors really, and they showed their potential, but it was obviously Town were way off it at the time. And they were all up there and we weren't. This season, we've had 3 games now where we're obviously right in the mix of it. And those 3 teams, as you mentioned, are all in that group with us. And it's nice to actually now finally win a game when it means something, when it's actually going to be significant. And I think they were fully merited it. But the thing is, obviously, they drop points again. It's always this nagging doubt in the back of your mind that where are they going to get this result against one of the bigger sides? They've got such a good squad, but where are they going to get it? And you keep thinking, oh, it's never going to happen. And the drag kind of keeps going on, and Town can keep beating all these smaller sides, but they are going to have to beat bigger sides and show their muscle to end the project this season and complete it by getting promoted. So to do it quite early in the season, we're only just gone into October, even though it feels like it's been a long season already. And basically to get it early on the board is great now for jumping forward, with obviously big games still to come later this month and in the coming months. So absolutely brilliant, and hopefully now this is a springboard to say that Ipswich Town are finally dining at the top table of this division, and they're not going to go away quietly.
Yes, well said, my friend. And yeah, it was a statement win. 4th takeaway, my friend, or 2nd takeaway. I've got it down as 4th on there because you've got 5 in total. LADAPO shows what he can do. Back-to-back league games he's now scored in. And yeah, came off the bench in this game, but yeah, he can show what he can do.
Yeah, well, I've had a gripe about this for a little while, that a lot of people have been getting at Freddie LADAPO, and look, I understand it. You look at what we've done in the summer, and you look at, obviously, we were all expecting a big name to come in, big name striker, to put down a real marker. And we didn't quite do it. LADAPO's got a great record at this level, so obviously he's very, very good for this level. But I don't think many people thought he would be the leader of the line, I guess. And then obviously you ending up with two quite young lads, with obviously Jackson, who was kept behind, in Ahadme and obviously John Jules, who seems to be getting quite a lot of game time actually. But and a lot of people are quite, I think, worried by the fact that LADAPO hasn't scored many goals so far. But just his overall play has been brilliant. I think overall, I will say he maybe was a bit off it against Wednesday when he came on. Might have been a bit of a hard game to come into, but I have no complaints over other games. The work he does off the ball is brilliant. He holds up the ball, occupies centre halves, and runs the channels. He's a willing worker up there. And in this system, the number 10s seem to be the ones that will profit more, the likes of Harness, the likes of Chaplin. And you've seen that with those two scoring so many goals that they have. LADAPO will have to score goals, but I don't think it's as important that he has to suddenly bang in 20 goals this season, because I think that front line are going to share the goals around with the way that McKenna plays. But obviously, I'm delighted that he's started scoring, getting into a little run, and I think it was always going to be inevitable that once he got his first, bit like the last segment we just said about the hoodoo, where once you get the hoodoo off your back, hopefully it will lead to more, and it has. But that finish was so instinctive, and it just shows you what he can do if he's suddenly in form and raring. And I'm very excited to see how far now he can go, in terms of hopefully scoring more goals, and helping Town continue to be near the top of the table.
Indeed, I just like to see the smile on his face, and definitely when he scored, and of course, in scoring in front of a big crowd. He scored at Plymouth last week, but to actually score in front of the North Stand end as well, which is good to see. Next takeaway, my friend, is strong bench proves worth a gain. Of course, we've got a lot of options on the bench. We saw LADAPO come off, we saw Carl Edwards. Is a strong bench, and it's proven it works. The Accrington game, we had Connor Chaplin and LADAPO came off the bench. This time around, it worked wonders again from Kieran McKenna.
Yeah, well, everyone keeps talking about obviously the five subs, obviously plays into the hands of the bigger clubs, and it does, because obviously the bigger clubs have the deeper squads, the better quality, and because they have the deeper squads and that better quality, that the five subs are going to make a real difference. And it's shown it a few times this season. McKenna has changed the entire front line, freshened it up, and it's helped Town to either obviously get a result or even just help them maintain a result that they'd already got. And Saturday, it showed you the worth, though, of having a good bench. I mean, we've just talked about LADAPO, and I was a bit surprised he didn't start. But McKenna seems to be quite intent on making everyone guess at the moment about who he's going to choose. It always seems to be a surprise name, and I never thought that John Jules would start in such a big game, especially after LADAPO getting his first goal. But I think the focus mainly comes on Kyle Edwards, who came on, and I thought he was brilliant. I thought he really did tear into the Pompey backline, and was just, for them, was just terrifying. And yes, there was a bit of luck with the winning goal, but it was his tenacity, his power and pace to get to the byline, to get that cross in, that led to the goal. And if there's a bit of luck on the end of it, then absolutely brilliant. But it just goes, and then of course you've got Don Ball, who comes on late on to then shore things up, to make sure that we actually hang on to this last lead and make sure it did convert into 3 points. So there's so many options, and it will turn games in our favour.
Indeed, my friend, indeed. And yeah, we mentioned earlier in the video that yeah, we took the lead twice in this game, and 2 penalties for Pompey, but we showed grit, didn't we? Mentality in adversity and all that sort of stuff. And that's a good thing. That's one thing we need to do to get out of this division.
Yeah, well, again, if you go back to like the very beginning, with us talking about the hoodoo and saying that it suddenly becomes a mental block, almost a monkey on your back kind of thing, that weirdly you just can't get off. And obviously the Sky TV curse is another one that's a little bit like, shouldn't really be a thing, but it is a thing because they've got such an awful record on Sky. And it's the same situation with this, in terms of, you look at last season, they couldn't win the big games when they either went behind, or if they were in front, they couldn't win many of the big games, should I say. They were always pegged back, or they got themselves back in it but didn't have enough. And then you look at the games this season, Bolton dominated, should have won, didn't get over the line after going behind and pulling ourselves back. Barnsley, you 2 ahead again, and conceding goals within about 5 minutes, I think, each time in that one. And that's the game I'd probably equate to what Saturday was developing into. We got ourselves ahead, but it wasn't the fact that we were conceding a goal and being pegged back throughout the game. It was like an immediate response within about 5 minutes of us scoring. And you worry that there's a little bit of a, I suppose, fragility. I mean, there's always a fragility when you score. And you always say it's the most dangerous time when you score. But it seems to be something that Ipswich, just against those bigger sides, just it doesn't seem to be particularly stable when they go ahead. And then obviously the last week they've had, Wednesday and Plymouth, you go ahead twice in both of those games. Town even had a 2-0 lead at Hillsborough, and they've collapsed to give away points in both of those games. And it would have been very easy for them to do exactly the same and end up with just a point again on Saturday, which Portsmouth would have been absolutely delighted about.
Yeah.
But the fact they showed real grit and determination to go again, take away that shackles of disappointment that they've just had of conceding another goal and being pegged back again in a game where they should have been out of sight. And they got that winner just through sheer momentum, really. They just pulled themselves up and went again. And that is the sort of thing I want to see now from Ipswich. And that mentality, hopefully, will leave them in great stead going forward. And hopefully now we will see Ipswich winning games in these tighter contests, just because they have that drive and desire now, and they've got that win behind them, that shows that they can go again when they're faced with adversity.
Oh, well said, my friend. Well said. Wordsmith, you are, my friend. Final takeaway then. Crowd act as 12th man to get through that adversity, of course. 28 plus thousand in League One is just mental. I know we had all the, the pack out PR and everything, but what an atmosphere it was. And I think I'm sure the players that helped them a lot. I know Kieran McKenna was going into this game that, we need the crowd to help us get through. And that's what they did.
Well, again, I mean, you look at the last 2 games that we've just played away from home, and I mean, myself, I said that I would take a point away from each venue and then beat Pompey at home. Didn't quite get that point at Plymouth, but you look at the impact the crowds had on those 2 matches. I mean, Hillsborough, okay, a slightly bit different, for the fact that they were throwing stuff on the pitch. So that was a bit more, over the line intimidation, but it's a big ground. There's a lot of fans, and that they made a noise once they got the momentum going. And that kind of, I suppose, drove Wednesday on to obviously pick up that equaliser, which is what you need from a home crowd. And then Home Park, not the biggest of grounds, but quite an amphitheatre in terms of the atmosphere. It's contained in the stadium, and they make a lot more noise than you would expect for something like 17,000. You feel that there's probably something like 30 in there, almost double. And that, again, made a difference, and Plymouth dug themselves out and obviously overturned our lead and won the game. So for us on Saturday to have such a massive crowd, and the atmosphere generally was brilliant throughout. There was a period in the second half where it did go a little bit flat, and I think that was largely down to Pompey playing the game they wanted to play. I think first half we were dominant, and then second half it got very bitty, and they wanted it to be bitty. The crowd start losing a bit of momentum and start getting the game starts to drift, I guess. And it did go a little bit flat, but I mean, that last 20 minutes was just raucous. Obviously, you have the goals in there, but just the sheer will of the crowd to basically suck the ball into the net and just make sure we win this game was massive. And when you get Portman Road at that capacity, making that noise, it is always going to be difficult for the opposition. And I think Danny Cowley said it in his post-match press conference, that he said that he was expecting, obviously having a big crowd, that they were going to have difficult moments. And they did. And in a big ground like that, when you've got the crowd on your side, you're always then in with a big chance of winning the game. And what a great day it was! What a great atmosphere! And I mean, for this pack out PR, what a great advertisement of a game for it. And if people have come, and there will be a lot who have come with a ticket, who aren't maybe people who go every week, they might just look at that and go, might be tempted to maybe come back to Portman Road more regular after that, because it was a very good game. And these last 3 games, I have to say, have been a very, very good advertisement for League One football.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster of rides watching these games, but yeah, we got over the line for the Pompey game. And Liam, it's been a pleasure. Some great takeaways, my friends. Of course, under lights on Tuesday against Cambridge United, of course, a rearranged game. Your quick thoughts on that, and thanks for joining me.
Yeah, Cambridge. It will be a tricky game. I'll say tricky. I don't think I would put it in the category of tough. I think it'll be tricky, because they're going to be up for it. It's not a derby, but it's a local affair. They even though it's a Tuesday night, I'm sure they will bring quite a few over, because it is fairly close, only about an hour's drive. And the trains, I think, are back on now, so you might get a decent crowd there. And look, they were unbeaten against us last season, so they've got all the confidence. They've had a great start. Mark Bonner has stayed in charge when he could have gone up a level to Rotherham. So they are a dangerous opponent. But if we're going to get promoted, we talk about these last 3 games and all the big games. We talk about them being significant, but if Town are going to get out of this division, then without being disrespectful to Cambridge at all, at home, it's a game we should be winning. And I would have said that exactly the same if it had been played on the Saturday that it was due to be played, and the same on the Tuesday night. And I mean, the fact it is a Tuesday night under the lights might just give a bit more buzz to the atmosphere as well, because it's always a special atmosphere under the lights. Don't know why, it just seems to be for football fans. A night game seems to bring a bit more energy. So, but I'm probably going to say I think Town will win this 2-0, and then hopefully a bit of momentum with the start of, I would say, 3 winnable games.
Indeed, my friend. Indeed. Well, Liam, thanks for joining me. Thanks everyone for watching. Get involved in the comments down below, your thoughts, your feelings from this game. And yeah, thanks for watching. That's all.